Rise of the Ronin is set in the mid-1800s amid the Edo period in Japan. This game draws on real-world history, and we get to interact with historical figures such as Commodore Matthew Perry of the US Navy. That said, the realism pretty much ends there, as we quickly find that dudes can take multiple slashes across the back with a katana, and one boss even has rocket shoes for some odd reason. The story ultimately starts with us sneaking aboard the black ships to assassinate the formerly mentioned Commodore Perry with your blade twin. After a series of unfortunate events, you're separated from your twin and depart on a mission to find them. I will give the game credit here. It throws you into the action immediately and hooks you right away. I was instantly pulled in and found myself wanting more within minutes of starting the game up. After getting through the initial section of the game, you're thrown into an open world that is quite a bit of fun to explore. For the first 20 hours or so, I found myself having a blast restoring public order, taking down wanted criminals, and even rescuing cats. But after about 20 hours of doing side quests, I started recognizing a glaring issue in this game. There's too freaking much of it. It seemed like every time you finish a side quest, 3 more would pop up. I was doing everything I came upon in my first 20 hours, but when I realized I was getting little in terms of loot from it, and after doing the same activities over and over and over and over again, I decided it was time to focus on the story and put the side stuff, well, to the side. Now, as you may or may not be aware, Team Ninja has brought us games like Nioh and Ninja Gaiden in the past. All of these were fairly linear in nature, with the option to explore for secrets. I will say I appreciate them doing something different in this one, but they put way too much bloat into the open world. That's okay though, because when I got tired of all that, I realized that the story is where this game truly shines. The main story revolves around a fractured Japan, one side wanting to welcome Western influence and new technology, the other one in Japan to stay true to its culture and heritage. These factions are referenced as the pro-shogunate and anti-shogunate. Along your journey, you meet a robust roster of characters from each faction, and you're given the choice of which side you want to support. That said, they definitely try to urge you into supporting the anti-shogunate movement, as that is by far the majority of the characters you end up interacting with. Also, I somewhat believe the choice is superficial, as you're never truly locked into either or. You're given the opportunity to change your mind a few times, and never seem to burn any bridges when doing so. I found the cast of characters to be quite good, all with their own unique personalities and motivations, and the voice acting was top-notch. But getting back to superficial choices, a lot of quests have you deciding which way you want to go, which are ultimately supposed to direct how your story plays out, but you eventually get to a point where you can go back and replay certain aspects of the game and change your choices. I would have preferred that whatever you choose is permanent in that playthrough. I found myself really drawn to the story, and I became attached to several characters throughout my playthrough. And that's good and all, but a good story doesn't really matter if the game isn't fun. I will say the absolute highlight of this game for me was the combat. It was super easy to pick up, but extremely difficult to master. Like many Souls games, it has a perfect parry system, which works amazingly, but many of the characters you fight all have different tempos to their attacks. Some wind up and attack right away, others make their move, hesitate, and then go all in on you. An ill-timed parry can easily cost you half your health bar. That said, unlike many Souls games, this one has a difficulty setting. I think this is a fantastic way to get people into the genre who have otherwise been intimidated by the difficulty of some of these games. I played the entirety of my playthrough on the normal setting and felt it to be just right. That said, people wanting a hard challenge can even bump it up a notch and give it a go. I also need to point out the dojos in this game. These were some of my favorite side missions, as you got to test your skills against your friends you made along the way, and some of these fights were extremely challenging with their varying techniques. To add to the combat, there are multiple weapon choices that all have different stances to unlock. This makes combat always feel fun, and I found myself constantly switching between weapons just to try them out. Going back to the issue of bloat though, this game gives you a ton of loot, and I'd say 90% of it is pretty much worthless. I found sorting through it to break it all down to be extremely tedious, and the late states of the game rarely found any upgrades. This game also features a skill point system, with your basic strength and dexterity skill trees that help boost certain weapons and attacks. But you also have skill trees for charm and intelligence. Certain skills in charm can help you have more dialogue options, and intelligence could help with things like experience gain. Ultimately, I found this part of the game okay, but I'd go for long periods of time not using any skill points, and when I finally did, never felt like they enhanced my character in truly meaningful ways. In regards to the graphics of the game, a lot of people have unfairly been bashing it when comparing it to games like Ghost of Tsushima. I felt this game was very much a Team Ninja game in regards to graphics, and that isn't a bad thing. I thought it looked great, more realistic than Ghost of Tsushima, and that all the character models looked wonderful as well. Additionally, I never ran into any crazy bugs and my gameplay was extremely smooth. The sound design was fantastic as well. I already mentioned the great voice acting, but I also really enjoyed the classical Japanese music. And also, I fell in love with the perfect parry sound effect of two swords clashing together. Ultimately, I really enjoyed myself with this game and had a lot of fun with it. The world map is way too bloated, but the story and combat was superb. For a score, I think I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. I think that's extremely fair. And I'd say it was worth the $70 I paid for it. But if you're waiting for this to go on sale, I would absolutely recommend you picking it up. So if you're wanting a game where you can feel like a badass samurai, this one is for you. Thanks for watching. Shimmy out.